Okay, we are live. Hello. It is December 23rd, 2022, and it is Friday. What a week. What a week. I hope everyone has been having a good week. It's time to end out the week. This week has been pretty crazy in life. This week has been pretty crazy in the markets. Tesla stock, for those that are Tesla shareholders, down something like 12% this week. Just an absolute insane week. Palantir down very high. Pretty crazy. Glitch Life, good morning. Arvin, good morning. Amid started position Amazon yesterday, waiting Palantir $6. Makes sense. Palantir $6 probably can't happen. Tesla up or down? I would say up today because Elon Musk said some good things yesterday that we're going to talk about. That he is not selling stock anymore, which is ultimately a good thing. The door to my job is frozen shut, so I have to wait for my bosses to bring a torch. Damn, that's that's how cold it is, bro. Yo, David? You're in Jersey, right? Because I didn't, or maybe you're not. Because I went outside today and it wasn't that bad in the morning. It was actually nice. Hello, Friday. Hello, 15 more Tesla shares. All right, Amit. Good morning. I hope you guys like my robe. I was in the closet and I was like, I need something to wear that's different. And I was like, well, it's wintry. It's Christmassy, kind of. It's yo, where's Chris? It's snowflake. I gotta show this picture to Chris. It's snowflakey. No, Michigan, bro. Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought you were in Jersey. Oh, you're in Michigan. Okay. All right, well, let's get into some of the big news in the market. You know what? I don't know what the market's going to do today, to be honest. I have no idea. Friday pajama day. Yes, that's exactly the thing. I have no idea what the market's going to do today. Honestly, I'm just like, the market's just doing whatever it wants to do. It's just, this entire week has been such an interesting week because we've seen some pretty massive declines in a lot of stocks, Tesla more than others, Palantir more than others. Index has remained relatively down, but not crazy. If we go to the SPY right now, 380 or 379 pre-market. If we go just 1 month up, so we were at 410 on December 13th. 10 days later, I mean, that's the decline, right? 410 to 380. We rallied back up to 404, and then we went down to 380. We rallied up to 386. Now we're down to 379. So, I mean, we're going to see how it goes. As you can see, the pre-market is entirely red. SoFi 480, Uber 24, Palantir 632. Tesla, Elon Musk went on a Twitter Spaces yesterday, and I caught him live in the space saying that he will not sell Tesla stock for the next 24 months. So until 2025, he has given his word. Now, if he follows through on that, we don't know because he said that before, but it seems like all likelihood indicates that he's not going to sell Tesla stock. If that's the case, then you've got some vote of confidence, but the problem still is, right? I don't know if investors are ready to buy because of the Twitter overhang, and no one really questioned him on that Twitter Spaces about the Twitter overhang. Everyone kind of just let him say, "Oh no, it'll be okay," and I'm like, "All right, I don't know what the point of that answer was," but I think that's the biggest issue that a lot of institutional investors will have, and some retail investors will have. So until that gets cleared up, meaning Twitter overhang gets cleared up, meaning like he finds a replacement for Twitter CEO. It's going to be hard to imagine that it changes this. Nice Robomid. Happy holidays to you all. Happy holidays to you as well. Quarantine Quartet. He also said Tesla would be likely lowering prices to break even or even negative in order to maintain sales throughout the recession. I'm going to take this robe off because it's getting a little hot. Yes, I agree. That there was a moment, and I think Chicken Genius clipped the exact moment in this, which I'll probably just show you guys right now, where he said, look, in order to maintain our cash flow, we might have to go negative in terms of profitability, which is a little concerning to hear, but at least it would keep them afloat. Elon said Tesla could slash margins to negative, prioritize unit growth if the recession becomes bad. Yeah, and that's if the recession becomes really bad. So obviously we have to wait until we see that. But here's the clip of the Twitter space of Elon talking, and it's in the middle of this chicken. He got like the minute clipped out, so let's pretty much announce this. He pretty much announced a 30K car. Yes, he did. The question is if they're going to actually come out with it. Again, it's all about if they actually come out with this.
Do you want to grow unit volume? In which case, you'll have to adjust prices downward, or do you want to grow at a lower rate or go steady. It's sort of a choice there. My bias would be to say, like, okay, let's grow as fast as we can without putting the company at risk, which would mean, in that scenario, profits would be low to negative during a recession, provided the cash position is okay. I think that's still the right move long term.
This means he wants to sell every Tesla car they make.
So in order to keep demand constant, you would have to therefore decrease the price of the car. It's the only that's if you want to keep demand constant, and if you want to increase demand, you have to decrease the price of the car further. This is like Econ 101 stuff.
Months back, I talked about demand destruction, and this is the most.
That's like the main thing, right? So he's talking about how in order to actually effectively do this, we need to decrease the price of the car. And in order to decrease the price of the car, or in order to maintain the margins, or not the margins, the ability for them to actually retain cash flow via demand, because demand might be destructive if the economy gets really bad. Now, this is in a bad case scenario, but it's a question of, how bad does it get? Elon says the way the Fed's going with rates, it could get really bad. And he was actually comparing it to something like 2009 and 2008. Now, he totally believes that the Fed is looking at the wrong data. And as a result of them looking at the wrong data, they're probably going to make the wrong decisions. And they've been consistently making the wrong decisions. And he's been, in the Cathie Wood camp. It's just, I think the Fed's trying to be a little bit more conservative than not conservative if they don't get it wrong. It's interesting. Happy holidays from Australia. Happy holidays, Steve. The other thing that was interesting, hold on. The Palantir emergency meeting was nothing. I streamed it yesterday, the last 5 minutes before the last 5 minutes the last 5 minutes before the stream yesterday. It was just nothing. They're just restructuring an agreement, right? Restructuring an agreement. And because they're restructuring an agreement, it was just like something that was incorporated. So there was really not a big deal at all. I wouldn't imagine it as like a super, super big deal. What was I going to say right before that? The funny thing about Chicken Genius is he said it was going to go down to 140. He bought at 158. And then from 140, it collapsed to 125, but he had already bought at 158. So it's interesting. It just shows you how hard it is to time the market, because at 158, he thought it was a bargain, but he thought it was going to go to 140. Right. So it's like for the past 5 months, you've been screaming 140. That was your target through all your technicals. But then at 158, you're like, I got to pull the trigger, which doesn't really make any sense to me. Right. Because it was in a downtrend. It's just like it's hard to time the market. Right. And then it gets to 140. And not only does it get to 140, it gets to 125, which means you're now down on your position. And then he sold yesterday. He took a 7.5% loss to buy up cheaper. It's a very interesting thing the guy is doing. I think it just proves to me that it's very hard to time the market, and trying to do it and trying to have these exact price targets is difficult. It's very, very difficult at the end of the day. No one wants to miss the boat. Yeah, the thing is, I get no one wants to miss the boat. The problem is, it's like, if your boat, you've said, will come to you when you're 140, then you got to like stick with some convictions at one point, So that's the important thing. Okay, it is 9:29. We are 30 seconds away from the market open, December 23rd. I hope everyone is having a good day. What are your weekend plans? Let me know. Oh, the weekend's Christmas. Yeah, what are your weekend plans? What are we doing over Christmas? I will be doing nothing. I'll be at home, but I'm curious to know if you celebrate Christmas. What are you doing? Do you have a big family? Do you go out somewhere? Are you taking a flight over the weekend? Going anywhere? Seeing anybody? I'm very curious. Would love to know. I always like knowing what people are doing over the holidays. I'll be working and just trying to keep grinding it out. All right, here we go. 9:30 a.m., December 23rd, 2022. The stock market is officially open, and it will be open for the next 8 hours. I was thinking it's Christmas on a weekday. No, it's not on a weekday. So it's open today, and it'll be back open on Monday. Here we go. Stock market's open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Palantir Technologies, 6.28, down 0.66%. Nothing too crazy again. Waiting for Palantir to get to 5. That would be really nice. Tesla, 125.75, down 0.4, up 0.4%. Spotify, up 0.03%. SoFi, relatively flat. Amazon, flat. Robinhood, down 1%. Pre-market down to the 7s. Google, up a little bit. Rivian down, Meta down. Meta, I'm waiting for it to drop below 110. That would be a little bit nice as well. Let's see Meta get there. NASDAQ, here we go. It's getting closer to 10,000. We were stuck at 10,500s yesterday. Now in the 10,400 range. So we'll see where that goes. Microsoft at 236, Coinbase at 34.51, Activision Blizzard at 75, Snapchat 866, Apple 131.11, Rocket Lab 37, Black Sky 157, Babylon at 751. Oh, Babylon I think did a reverse split. This used to be 55 cents. They might have done a reverse split recently. I'll check on that. They might have done that. Disney 86, Unity 27. Wow, Unity was in the 30s. Wow. Yeah, look at this. Unity was 38 on December 13th. Goodness, Unity has collapsed as well. Snowflake 139, TSM 74. Yeah, I mean, the market's relatively flat or down today. Nvidia down from 160. So we see that decline right there. 165, it was 2 days ago, now 152. Does anyone know why it dropped that much? That's interesting. I guess it's just in general the market. Enphase still holding strong, close to 300. Netflix 297, also close to 300 as well. Hi, my friends. Gabe, it was a joke, my tweet about Tesla. Guys, I tweeted about Tesla. I said to Elon Musk, my mom bought your company at 294. I'm so mad your stock is down. It was a joke, Gabe. You need to understand humor. Obviously, I'm not going to blame Elon Musk for his stock going down, even though, I mean, this Twitter thing is probably a big reason. But, granted, I think Elon Musk has a point that the macroeconomic structure necessitates that stocks do go down, right? And that's inevitable. The problem is the rate at which it's gone down is a little bit too much, right? What was the tweet? Let me show you guys the tweet right now. It was a fun tweet. It was a silly little fun tweet I made. It's because it was my mom's birthday. That's why the tweet made sense yesterday. But Gabe doesn't have a sense of humor. Here it was. I said, today's my mom's birthday, Mr. Musk, and your stupid company went down too much and made her sad. She bought it at $290, trusting you wouldn't mess it up. Then Gabe says, this is the stupidest tweet you've ever done and is a horrible example to set as a finance YouTuber. CEOs don't determine the stock price. It's up to the consumer to use the metrics of investing they use to invest in a company for long term. You blaming Elon's childish. And I said, it's a joke. I said, it's a joke. I'm like, okay. Gabe says, I'm autistic, admit, and don't take jokes, not a crutch for explanation. Gabe, yeah, but this is so obvious of a joke, Gabe. I'm like, this is not. Why would I be blaming Elon Musk on Twitter? Like he actually even sees my tweets in the sea of tweets he sees. This is a very obvious joke. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's just fun. Now, one thing that Twitter added here is views. Okay, if you notice this here, now this is a really important metric. And I tweeted this right here. I see the tweet right after my tweet about my mom. I'm giving praise to Elon as well. So Gabe, if you just scrolled up a little bit, you would see I'm like, hey, Elon, I love you. He says, all right, Elon Musk, your new views features got me hooked and it's brilliant. I'm going through all of his tweets and seeing the number of views out of pure curiosity. Big numbers make everyone excited. Look at those view counts. So look at this right here, right? Breaking. Elon Musk just told Ross Gerber on Twitter Spaces that under no circumstances will he sell Tesla stock for the next 18 to 24 months. As you can see below, it says 12.3 thousand views. Now, what is a view on Twitter? It's not the same as YouTube. If I click on view tweet analytics, that's an impression, right? An impression is the amount of times your content was shown to people on the platform. So on YouTube, when you see a thumbnail, that counts as an impression. But if you click on it, then your impression gets like an engagement, an impression click-through rate. And then if someone watches 30 seconds of it, that counts as a view. So from impression to click to view is a little bit more of a complicated, like more meaningful structure on YouTube because it's harder to get people to click and then watch, obviously because they're like videos. But on Twitter, if they just pops up in front of your feed, then boom, you've seen it. And so Elon implemented this, and it was pretty interesting because like seeing the views on tweets is quite fantastic. If you go to his profile, I mean, the level of reach that this guy has on Twitter is insane. Like, let's just look at some of these tweets, right? Tweet impression count should stay on the left, move to the right. 14 million views this tweet got. Tweets are read 100 times more than they are liked. 33.6 million views. Look at Tesla. This Tesla tweet got 22 million views. I mean, you talk about Twitter as free advertising. Tesla's not paying for this. Tesla has 18 million followers. Elon has 120 million followers. So when he retweets their post, it gets a lot more views. And it's just insane. Like, it's absolutely insane. Let's look at some of the bigger. Look at this. Should Congress approve the 1.7 trillion spending bill? 69 million views. I mean, so on the spaces yesterday, Elon was literally saying that Twitter helped them build their company, right? Twitter helped them build the business for Tesla and create demand. So he was admitting how important Twitter was to Tesla's growth. But you think about the level of views. Let's go to someone like AOC. Okay, let's go to AOC. Look at the level of views she gets, right? And she has 13 million followers. So let's look at one of her tweets. Here we go. 4.2 million views on a quote tweet. 1.9 million views. I mean, these are big, big, big numbers. If we just go to some of my tweets, look at this tweet I put out. This got 11 views. This got my ARC buys today got 2,000 views. Palantir Daily. This I'm not on that account, so it doesn't show. Right here, this breaking. Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX was released on this a $250 million bail, which we'll talk about in a second. 3,000 views. So I think the views feature is really good. It creates engagement. More people want to see how people are consuming content. More people want to see the level of content. So it's really it gets people to actually care at the end of the day. Now, one of the other things, Sam Bankman-Fried got $250 million of bail set for him, which is so interesting. He is released right now. I'll actually just pull up the article. And we talked yesterday about how his co-founder at FTX is basically saying that he was a fraud, and he's ratting on him to the cops, which is understandable. And as a result of that, it is likely that SBF is going to have a hard case against the lawyers. Now, he is going to be released on a $250 million bail, and he's going to live with his parents. Now, that doesn't mean that people are going to pay $250 million. That just means that you have to have at least $250 million in the bank to be able to put up as collateral for the bail. So a recognizance bond is written commitment from the accused to appear in court when ordered. In return, Bankman-Fried's camp would not be required to meet the full collateral requirements on the bail. The bond was secured by equity in his family home and by the signatures of his parents and two other individuals with considerable assets, which means his family home, to prove the guy comes from money and has, really nice connections. People he knew were able to sign on a like bond that if anything happens to SBF, they will put up their house to make sure that he is, put in jail, or his bail is being able to be secured. In addition to the $250 million package, which prosecutors called the largest ever petrol bond, the former crypto billionaire would also be required to wear an electronic monitoring bracket, subject to mental health counseling, and restrict himself to travel only between the Northern District of California and Southern and Eastern districts of New York. His parents, both Stanford law professors, were present in the courtroom. Bankman-Fried was flanked by two U.S. Marshals dressed in a blue suit and brown shoes. And basically, the judge was like, "Do you get the consequences?" And he was like, "Yes, I do." I mean, this is just incredible, man. Someone has $250 million to put up as collateral is just like, it's not easy. Yeah, reinstate real estate money from his parents. That's ridiculous. Like, that is absolutely insane. Kevin O'Leary put up a sizable contribution. Wait, really? Kevin O'Leary put up... Are you joking? Because if you're joking, that's funny. But if that's the truth, goodness, that would be insane. That would be insane. So when I saw that number, I was like, wait a second. The guy, 250 bill, like, who has 250 million bucks that they could just put up in case anything happens? Like, that's insane, bro. I'm talking shit a minute. Okay, that's what I thought. I was just like, what? Okay, let's take a look at some bullish news. A Santa Claus rally is still possible before the new year. Let's check this out.
And Stephanie, a true definition of a Santa Claus rally is one that takes place between Christmas and New Year's. So the downtime that we're seeing right now might actually make it look better for that happening. If we were really strong this week, it'd probably be less likely.
Well, it's entirely possible, Becky, because seasonally, this is the time when the markets usually do pretty good. It's obviously lower volume as people do travel. But I also think that there's a lot of defense.
By the way, while we're watching this, Tesla hits another 52-week low. Palantir is down. The market just dropped, I think, about 1% or 2%. So we'll talk about it right after we hear the bull case for why a Santa Claus rally is possible, as we are seeing a really bad bear market today on Friday.
positioning this year, even more so than normal. And so hopefully we can get a rally. The problem is I'm not sure it can last. I think we're going to be in this choppy trading range and kind of have felt like that for the last several months because we just don't know what the impact is going to be in terms of the Fed rate hikes and the lag impact. That all being said, I actually feel a little bit better about where we are in the economy, just given all the data that we have seen over the last couple of weeks. It's not all gloom and doom. And I kind of feel like everybody is gloom and doom. It's almost to the point of how many times can we sell off on the same bad news of the Fed and of inflation and of a slowing economy? So I'm trying to look for opportunities, even though I think we're probably going to be in a choppy environment.
Yeah, I like your point. The Santa Claus rally doesn't really matter to an average investor who's in this for the long term. The only people who care about it are managers who are trying to outflank the benchmark, or at least not look as bad against the benchmark for the end of the year. It's like window dressing, right? Okay, so I get that. Your point about thinking that maybe the doom and gloom has hit a peak, at least temporarily. This is going to be an ebb and flow. I liked what you said about how Tepper didn't concern you all that much yesterday, that it's not surprising to have a hedge fund manager who is going to be short on equities, short on bonds. That's his job as a hedge fund manager. But you see some bright spots. I forget what the companies were, a couple of consumer names, Nike, Starbucks, I think, were two that you liked. What is it that makes you think the consumer is going to hang in?
Well, I mean, I think that first and foremost, I mean, the savings rate is still at about 3%. Wages are going higher and inflation is coming down. So that's actually a good thing, right? Everyone all year long have been saying, well, wages are going up, but inflation is so high. So the purchasing power for consumers is really not what you think it is. And I actually do believe very strongly that the consumer is in really good shape. And it's really been a bad bet to bet against the consumer. We are a nation of spenders, believe it or not, even if we have to take on debt or not, right? So I do think, though, that jobs remain strong. And obviously, we know that that's what the Fed is focused on, jobs and wages. But the fact of the matter is there are more job openings than unemployed people. And if you get a job, you're making more money. So I think that the consumer certainly is going to be pinched for sure. But I do think that they will hang in there. Yeah. And I do think I was very encouraged with the Nike results earlier this week. Starbucks actually also had better demand. I think there's a lot of areas in the market that they're giving us opportunities. I still like energy very much. Still like the industrials very much. I think GE is certainly interesting. I think Zoetis is certainly interesting. I mean, that stock is down 30%, and that total addressable market for animal health is $90 billion by 2030. So a lot of opportunities. Try not to get caught up in the negativity and thinking for the long term. That's sort of kind of what I'm trying to do in a challenging year.
Stephanie, are you around next week or are you off?
I am off. I am actually traveling. So I'll report back the following.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about some of the stuff she said as we pull up the market. You know, the interesting thing here was her argument about peak gloom and doom, right? And I'm seeing what you guys are saying in the chat. It's interesting because, you know, there's two sides to this, right? One side says when the media says, oh, there's a ton of like sell, things are going horrible, it's a bear market, that's the time to buy, right? That you do the opposite of what the media is telling you to do because it is peak fear and gloom. Then the other side is saying, well, if all of the media is saying there's peak gloom and doom, then that means it's actually still going to be bad because now the media has theoretically turned bullish as Tesla hits a new 52-week low. And that means we should be buying. And I think there's merit to both of those. It is interesting. I would be rather on the camp that when everyone says that it's bad, it's likely not as bad as we think it's going to be. But it could get worse, right? And that's the hard part to sort of analyze this from. And the reason I'm saying that is because no one really knows where the crux of this economy inflects. Like with the subprime mortgage losses in 2008, 2007, no one really knew outside of like Michael Burry and some people, right, what was going on. So when it happened, it was a pretty bad collapse and no one knew when the bottom was, and then it bottomed out. With here, I feel like the one leading indicator that we have that can really change everything is inflation. And we talked about this on the Daily Cowbell yesterday. Me and Tom were having a debate about this, which is just like, look, if inflation goes down, the Fed has to pivot. It's that simple. If inflation goes down dramatically, if we go from 7% to let's say 5%, the Fed cannot keep this up. The question is, when do we get that 5%? And honestly, you know, in the next 6 months, I wouldn't be surprised if like we get close there to 5%. I think January CPI is going to be super important because now we went from 7.7 to 7.1. From 7.1, can we get to 6.7? I mean, that would be pretty damn encouraging if we get to 6.7. And then from 6.7, can we get to 6.5? Then 6.5, can we get to 6.3? Then 6.3, can we get to 5.9, right? Like if this happens over the next 5 months, we're going to be, and 5% inflation is not the best, but it's way better than 9% inflation. And if it happens by April, May, we got there way quicker. Even if 2023 sucks the first 6 months, we're getting to the point where 5%, 4% inflation is very possible. And the Fed's going to have to pivot. They're going to have to stop at least. So I think it's all contingent upon inflation. That's it. And we will see that. David, I didn't see your joke about Red-Nosed Rudolph. This year, Rudolph leads the Santa rally. That's so interesting. Ardashir, thank you for being here. Consider satisfying your income positions, but X amount of SPY of 370, 1.2X of 3.1 point. Some variation of that keeps you from going all in on the bottom. Yep, that is true. I mean, that's the chicken genius problem, right? It's like the guy had a price target, then he has the FOMO. It's like having these sort of DCAs set up at relatively smaller price targets with the 1.2, 1.4X of your money is actually a really strong way to establish it. Wow, really, Amit? So you're saying for the first time in history, the Fed will pivot before inflation was lower than the Fed funds rates? BS. Well, we'll see. It's not me saying that. It's Elon Musk saying that we should do that. It's Kathy Wood saying that we should do that. I'm saying that the markets are forward-looking, and we are so oversold. Like, I think one of the things people don't understand is how oversold we are. Now, the counter-argument is like, yes, we can go lower. Of course we can go lower. But at some level, when Facebook loses $700 billion in market cap in 1 year, when Tesla's down more than 60% in not even 1 year, well, yeah, in 1 year, but 40% in 2 months since October 13th. I mean, like, it's almost a question of just like, are these stocks going to zero? Is Meta going to $60? Is Tesla going to $50? Is that what we're saying? Is Spotify going to $10 now? Like, at some level, there's going to be a reckoning where if inflation goes down faster than it should go down, we're going to get a more positive market, in my opinion. And also the other thing that props us up is earnings, right? Like, we have no idea how Q4 has been because we didn't see earnings. But we have some indicators that Q4 probably wasn't that horrible, given Black Friday sales, given Cyber Monday sales, given the fact that Palantir is securing new deals left and right. I mean, like Palantir, what happens if they put up a $550 million quarter? Like, these are things I think we have to take into account. Now, if earnings suck in Q4 and inflation doesn't go down as fast as we need it to go, yes, 2023 is going to be really bad. But I think we have to see those metrics before we fully make the decision on what's going on into 2023. So, I think that's important as well. They have people will lose a lot, not just the money. Yes, I agree. What happened yesterday with Palantir? The meeting yesterday, guys, it was nothing. I streamed it for like 5 minutes. They didn't do anything. They just like approved some incorporation thing. It's like, it's not even worth covering because these are things you have to disclose, but like, it's not going to actually change anything relatively. It's not like a material impact. It's not worth really covering anything like that. Okay, let's hear. Okay, speaking of inflation, let's hear a little bit about inflation. I think this is more comes to inflation.
Breaking news before the holiday. Personal income and spending for November. Income up 0.4, a little better than expected. But of course, we see in the rearview mirror that 0.7 was the best since September. So it is a bit lower. On the spending side, up 0.1, half of expectations. That's the lightest level since July of this year. And that really is causing some pause, of course, as everybody tries to assess the holiday season. Personal real spending is unchanged when accounted for inflation. Now let's get into some of the important numbers. PCE, personal consumption expenditure deflator, month over month is up exactly 0.1%. High water mark was in June, up 1%. The year-over-year deflator expected to be up 5.5. Excuse me. The year-over-year deflator expected to be up 5.5% is up exactly 5.5%. The high water mark there was 7%. That was back in June. If we look at the PCE core deflator, month over month, it's up 0.2 exactly as expected. The high water mark there goes all the way back to last year in April when it was up 0.6. Now, if we look at what's going on with regard to the deflator year over year, up 4.7. Now, this is a bit hotter than expectations, but it's well below the 5% in the rearview mirror. High water mark there, February of this year at 5.4%. Now we look at durable good orders. These are preliminary, so they're going to change in a couple weeks. Expected to be down 1%, double that. Down 2.1, down 2.1. That is the weakest level going back to, wow, we have to go back quite a ways. We're going back to April of 2020 when it was down a record COVID amount. So that is definitely not a good number. And if we look at the durable goods X transportation, we could see exactly what's going on there. When you strip out transportation, it rises. It rises to positive 0.2. And if you look at capital good orders, non-defense aircraft, a proxy for capital spending, it's up 0.2. That's better than expected. And finally, if we look at shipments, it's down 0.1. That's opposed to a down 0.3 expectation. In the rearview mirror, it was up 1.4. And especially on shipments and capital good orders, non-defense aircraft, guys and gals, that is a proxy for capital spending. We've seen some pretty good numbers throughout the year. So especially on shipments moving down, we don't like to see it moving down when we're trying to assess holiday shopping, but it has been on the high side. So this is a bit of a give back. After all of that, interest rates just climbed just a smidge higher. But a smidge higher is pretty important. We are toying with new high yields and 10-year notes for the week as we hover.
Okay, so speaking of what he's saying on inflation, I think we have a new report out today as well that kind of corroborates the argument that's being made here. Let me just pull this up right now, this article by CNN. The PCE, Fed's favorite inflation gauge, shows prices continue to moderate. Let's pull this up right now. We're losing everything anyway. Yeah. Look, the market's either going to go up or down. It's about the process and the journey of dealing with it as it happens. So let's read from here. The Federal Reserve's preferred measure of inflation continued to cool off in November, providing yet another welcome indication that this period of painfully high prices has peaked. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, or PCE, rose 5.5% in November from a year earlier and 0.1% from October, the Commerce Department reported on Friday. In October, prices rose 6.1% annually. So we're seeing a decline of 6 basis points from 6.1 to 5.5. It still rose, but it rose at a much slower rate, which is what we want to see when it comes down to reducing inflation. Core PCE, which excludes the volatile food and energy categories, was up 4.7% annually and up 0.2% on a monthly basis, which is what the video was talking about as well. Economists polled by Refinitiv were anticipating core PCE decline 4.7% from November 2021 and 0.2% from the month before. So again, it's another update that like inflation is going down. Now it's not going down at the rate where we need to stop raising rates, but it's going down. And, it's not the worst thing in the world. The journey sucks. I just want to get there now. The Fed looks at PCE more than CPI. That is true. And that's why the PCE is important, because the Fed actually takes that into consideration, given it's a little bit more of a cumulative indication of what's going on versus CPI. But CPI is the headline number that, determines. It's so crazy how me and the 200 people in the chat, we all care about CPI. We all know what the CPI is. But the vast majority of the world, ask your friend, what is the consumer price index? Even if your friend's a relatively smart person, they probably don't know. I guarantee you my friends have never heard of a CPI in the day in their life. They would be like, what is that? Is that like a football league? What are you talking about? NFL, NBA? These little numbers, like the Fed's funds rate. Bro, people, I was talking to my sister yesterday. She doesn't know what the hell the Fed funds rate is. She's 29. My mom doesn't even know what it is. She's 53. I would say they're relatively smart people. They have nice careers. They don't know what the heck the Fed funds rate is. And it's these numbers, it's nice not to take it for granted that we kind of know this stuff because we're in the finance world. And, if you ever wanted to explain it to someone, you could probably explain the whole theory of a basic macroeconomic argument around inflation, interest rates, etc. It's kind of cool. But a lot of people don't know this stuff. A lot of people don't take that into account. Tesla now at a new all-time low, 121, down 3.14%. Palantir also down 3%. And now one of the reasons it may be down today is just because it's Friday, okay? Friday, sell-off before the holidays relatively makes sense. But it still hurts because every single day this week has been a sell-off. At this point, you know, if it's gonna sell back, like imagine Tesla gets down to 110 and then it just gets down to 100. It's at 121 right now. I mean, this is peak fear, or sorry, not peak fear, but this is a lot of fear that may not be peaking yet because institutions, retail, like why are people selling Tesla today? That's the question. Elon Musk literally said on that Spaces yesterday, hey, I'm not going to sell Tesla for the next 24 months. Everyone was so happy that Elon Musk did a Twitter Spaces yesterday. I feel like I was the only one skeptical when I listened to the Spaces. I was like, wait a second. The entire reason Ross Gerber, Gary Black, etc., don't like what's going on with Elon and Tesla right now is because he's occupied with Twitter. Then you get to ask him a question about Twitter, and literally he's like, oh, Twitter's only 10% operational capacity that Tesla is. Most of my time is in Tesla, so I don't have to worry about Twitter. But in reality, we know that's kind of BS, bro. Like Twitter's stressing you out, and it's okay. You're a human being. Like you have to pay bills. Like Twitter is hard. We get it. But he's acting like it's not hard. And then everyone on the Spaces were like, oh yeah, Elon, you'll solve it. You'll figure it out. And then he says, oh, by the way, I'm not going to sell Tesla for the next 2 years. And everyone's like, oh, great. It's like, my guy. that's not saving the stock just because you say you're not going to sell after you sold $40 billion worth of stock in the past 24 months. And additionally, your time is still associated with Twitter. Like, I don't think he said anything yesterday that should give anyone any encouragement. And you've got these people running around like, oh, everything's great. Elon went on a live. Basically, he was answering questions that people would ask on an earnings call. I mean, he was answering very specific questions about demand and margin and selling. Like if his lawyers were there, they would like shut his mouth, you know, with tape because they wouldn't, like, you can't say that type of stuff. But it's Elon. Elon gets to be Elon. The problem is what he said to me wasn't going to change any of the situation going on with Tesla. Smart money doesn't actually care about Twitter, but slowing demand. Well, smart money is on Twitter. I mean, Ross Gerber and Gary Black, I would count as smart money. They've been in Tesla for a while. They manage a lot of money and they can buy a lot of stock today and help the price. They're not doing it until this Twitter situation is resolved. So, you know, and so smart money assumes institutions. Tesla doesn't have the biggest institutional ownership, right? That's also the problem. 233 people in the chat. Can we get 200 likes? Yes, guys, please like the video. I would appreciate that. It means a lot to me. David, thank you for the reminder. And shout out to the 237 people being here. I appreciate it a lot. So, I mean, like, yeah, that's the crazy part about this Tesla situation. I mean, look at Meta. Meta's held up relatively strong this entire week. Where's Meta? Where's Meta right here? Meta has basically been at 120 to 115 the whole week. I mean, Tesla this week. You started at, where did we start at? Let's go on the daily. We started 12, 13, what was the week? 12, 20, 12, 18. We started at 159, 160, or a little bit closer to 150. And now we're down to 120. Since December 1st, we were at 195. Now we're down to 120. And look, I'm not saying it's bad the stock prices decline because everything's declined. It's the amount of decline that is so unbelievable. And I did a video yesterday about, you know, the Tesla argument and like if I feel comfortable buying the dip or not. And I'm going to be very honest. I just don't feel comfortable buying the dip given the Twitter situation that's going on. You know, it's not like you're excited to buy this dip right now because you're like, wait a second. Can I even trust Elon's not going to sell in the next 2 years? Like, because he said he wasn't going to sell many times. Like, do I trust him? And if he has to sell, I'm not going to blame him. I'm not be like, oh, you lied to us. It's like, no, it's like, bro, you have to do what you have to do. And he says things and he does the other, which I get, right? He's a CEO. He has to, you can't always tell the truth. You have to do what you got to do. But it's hard to just believe that it's going to happen. And then on top of that, I mean, the biggest thing I think he said was the negative margin stuff. Like if Tesla has to go into negative margins, if the recession gets really bad, which if you believe in arguments from people like Gabe, the recession will get really bad, which means if Tesla has to go negative margin to keep up production, that's not going to be good for the earnings. That's not going to be the best. So I don't know. Yeah. Also, Gabe, I don't know why you want Tesla at that cost basis if you think the market's hitting an all-time low. Because if the market's hitting an all-time low, or sorry, not an all-time low, but yeah, well, 52. Well, it's going below 340 on the S&P. And Elon said if the market gets as bad as it was in 2009, which I mean, if we get the S&P to what 330, it's not as 2009, but it's still pretty bad. It's like really bad from here. And Tesla has to go negative margins to keep up their cash flow and their demand generation. Then Tesla stock is not going to do well. I mean, it's just obvious at that point. Along with Twitter being in the backdrop, I don't know if it's, granted, long term, when the macro is over, it might be the best price, but in the short term, it's a little bit hard to determine. And I think these are the things that really you got to factor in when you're trying to make a decision here, so that you're not left holding a bag at 120. Like it's important to think about. It's not just like, let me just jump in because it's down. It's like, wait a second, let's think. Let's really think about this. And if we miss the bottom and we get it at 130, 140, if you're long term on Tesla, why the hell does it matter? It legitimate. If you buy it at 120 or $200, why does it matter? If you're a Tesla, at least a $3-4 trillion company, it does not matter. Same thing with Palantir. $6 versus 16. It really doesn't matter if you think Palantir is a $150 billion company. Like, the gains you're going to get it's not that crazy. So it's rather you protect your risk from the downside versus just blindly accepting that everything's going to be okay and there's going to be no issues. Watch the earnings crunch. Yeah, I mean, that's the issue. The earnings crunch is the hardest part. It's the hard. And again, I'm a Tesla bull. I like Tesla. I'm trying to be objective here. I'm not trying to be a fanboy and just be like, Elon is going to be. It's like, no, man, you can't just do that now. You cannot just do that now. You have to be objective when it comes to these investments right now. And same thing with Palantir. I think I've tried to become very objective with Palantir. I've said every time they get a new deal, the stock price falls. Why does the stock price fall? Because the macro doesn't care. I've even said I'm happy over the next 2 years if their business is not the most optimal, because it's better to not have an optimal business in a crappy macro, as long as you have no debt and you have cash in the bank so you can weather the storm and survive and be building the foundation, which is a really good product and really good relationships across the world, to then be able, when the macro gets better, to take advantage of lower interest rates and a more thriving economy. And even in that crappy economy, Palantir is reducing stock-based compensation, increasing free cash flow, getting deals with the CDC, the UK Ministry of Defense, and putting up hopefully $1.9 billion of revenue in 2022, and eventually getting closer to profitability. Like, I'm not naive. I understand that they're not profitable right now, and it's a little bit harder. My argument has always been, look at what they're building and look at the quality of work that they're doing. This is not DraftKings being unprofitable. This is not, what's another company? Spotify being unprofitable, where all they do is music streaming. Like, this is a company that's helping the United Kingdom defend their sovereignty. This is a company that's putting Tyson Foods on steroids and they're not profitable. What does that mean? That means to me there's an opportunity. Whereas Tesla, I'm like, hold on a second. Tesla is profitable. They have great earnings, but there's a guy who's associated with Twitter. This is not an opportunity. This is a burden that you're dealing with. And that's the issue. So I think that's the main thing I'm trying to understand. Mitch, should I stay living with my parents for an extra year to buy the dip? Okay, John, how old are you? And do you like your parents? My gut answer is yes. Now, because I'm 25. I turned 25 a couple months ago. I live with my parents. I have no desire to move out. If I moved out, I would be bored inside an apartment. I want to help my mom around the house. I want to spend time with my mom. My grandparents, both of them died. My grandpa, my grandma. In fact, I'm going to my grandma's funeral today, by the way, in a couple of hours. They died in the past couple of days, literally in the past 10 days. And you want to spend more time with people before they pass. And so just for the pure idea of spending more time with them, making more memories and saving that money. Yeah, I'll say 24 years old. And yes, I can still handle that. Oh, 100%, bro. I don't think you should be moving out. I don't think you should be, but I think like up until 27, 28 is totally acceptable in my opinion. Like, totally acceptable. I mean, like, that's not bad. I mean, like, because if you get back from college at 22 for up till 28, you have 6 years of saving money and helping around the house and making sure you spend time with your parents, because you don't get that time again. You're not going to be with them from 32 to 38, right? You're probably going to be out at that point. So I would 100%. I wouldn't even worry about that. Sorry for your loss of it. Appreciate you, Jackalope. Thank you. There we go. We got Turner in the chat. By the way, this man Turner right here, comment highlighted on the screen. If you guys could do me one thing for Christmas, please subscribe to Turner for me. He is the brains behind the Daily Cowbell, which we're not going to be able to do an episode today. We might do a recap episode. We usually don't record on Fridays. I'll see if I put out a recap episode, but Turner is the brains behind the Daily Cowbell. The edit the past 2 days for those that have not seen it, have been phenomenal. I mean, like, this is better than every mainstream media TV editor. Like, this is legit shit. And the Daily Cowbell is only getting started. I think in 2023 we are going to hit some. I think it's going to be a big show. So I would definitely recommend checking him out. And he's also my personal videographer for Audia, my startup. So I would definitely check him out. All right, we got about the market open. The market open is done. So if anyone wants to leave, you can leave. I'm going to take 5 minutes of questions to end out the week. I think I should do that every Friday. The last like 5-10 minutes, take some questions, talk to everyone in the chat who wants to say. For those that don't want to say, thanks so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. For the people who joined this entire week, I know this has been a crazy week in the markets. I've had a lot of people reach out to me through Twitter DMs, Facebook Messenger. Yes, Facebook Messenger is the thing. I had one guy in my Palantir investors group. By the way, if you want to join the group, just go to dailypalantir.com, click on any article, and go to the bottom, and you'll find the link. And then you can join the Facebook group. He sold his entire Palantir position at $22, which was his average, to buy the dip on Tesla. And my advice to him was like, congrats on doubling down on your conviction. Like, at the end of the day, if you have an average of Palantir at 22 and you are more convicted on Tesla and you want to get up Tesla at 129, you got to double down on your conviction. I think this is a market where you have to make a bet, as I made in that ouch video on Monday. You have to make a bet and you have to care about that bet. And ultimately, you have to decide if that bet matters. And he basically said, look, I love Palantir. He's in a Palantir investors Facebook group, right? But he's like, Tesla more. And so I sold out of my Palantir and I doubled down on Tesla. And that's great. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's conviction. Conviction is what gets you through a crappy market. And for me, I haven't felt like the emotional pain of this market, not one bit this week, because like I have conviction. It's like, all right, I'm in Palantir and that's the one I choose. And I can afford to not look at that money right now. So I'll move on, right? And those two combinations of you don't need the money at the moment and you're okay with the stock you picked or the couple of stocks you picked, and boom, you move on. That's it. That's it. And that's kind of how it goes. Can we buy some equity in the Daily Cowbell? Unfortunately not. But I honestly think, bro, I think the Daily Cowbell can be bigger than the previous show. For those that know the previous show, the previous show, I was watching I went to the previous show the other day just to look at some of the comments. You guys know the previous show. So I don't need to say the name of the previous show. I was looking at some of the comments and there was like hundreds of comments saying people love this show. It was awesome. Show was getting like 25K views a day. And, egos. Ego is a horrible thing. Let's just say that. So that show had to end, but this new show has no ego. And as a result of having no ego, I think it can be a lot bigger. I think it can be a lot more fun. I think the community we're building, like the people that wished me that basically said, yo, I'm sorry for your grandma's loss on the Daily Cowbell channel in the comments. I mean, like, they didn't have to do that, like you guys on my channel. I know you guys, you care about me, you keep up with me, but like they didn't have to do that. And I think we're building a real community. And I think if the Daily Cowbell explodes, it's one of those things where it's a good product. It's a good show. People like the energy. People get something out of it. They get information. They get entertainment. They get their news updates. They get a little bit of escapism and they feel like they're part of a community. And as a result of that, I think those are the ingredients needed, plus consistency. Because one thing is we haven't been consistent in December, unfortunately, because a lot of life things happen. But if 2023 we can be consistent, I think we have a shot of building a really successful media product. And so we will see. We will see. It's going to be exciting. Who is the funniest person on SoFi Palantir Weekly? Well, I think I'm the funniest person on the planet, to be honest. So it's probably me. No, I'm just kidding. I think Chris is probably funny on Palantir Weekly because Chris is Chris. I don't know if we're doing Palantir Weekly tonight. I know we're doing SoFi Weekly. I'm not sure if we're doing Palantir Weekly. I have to check with Chris. But I'll let you guys know. And SoFi, I don't know, maybe Tanner. Tanner's a funny guy. I like Tanner. He's the best. Let me see some other comments. When are we doing late night stock talks again, Gabe? I don't know. Probably next week. Next week is probably the best time to do it. This week is Christmas, so probably next week. You just got to remind me, Gabe. We got to set it up. I just purchased 3,000 shares of Palantir. Did you actually, Jim? Did you buy 3,000 on the spot? That's wild, bro. That's good for you. That's not bad. Always stay with your parents if it's a healthy give and take situation with mutual benefits. So living with your parents is always bad. It's such BS, man. It's absolute garbage. Like, bro, my mom lets me do whatever I want, right? Like she's not over demanding or anything like that. Like it's just we have a good relationship and it's not bad being in a house, bro. It's a nice place to be in. What would I do in an apartment by myself? It's just not that exciting, So what price did Chicken Genius buy Tesla? 158. I think Chris is probably funny. Cowbell is new learn to speak. Yes, basically. And I'm horrible at speaking on the cowbell, so daily cowbell is hard for me to speak. You can't bring girls home. There are other alternatives to the girls situation, Richard, that are very simple, actually. So, I mean, yeah, it's not as convenient, but there are alternatives. That, if you're buying rent just to have girls come home, if you have a girlfriend, it's different, right? Like if you have an established relationship, I get it. But if you're going to pay $2,000 a month and waste, it's not going to equity in that apartment. It's being wasted for like girls. I don't know. I don't think that's right. I think there's a lot of other alternatives that are cheaper to do that. That still lets you do what you want to do. Your mom doesn't let you ban. Well, this is true, Ahmed. This is very true. The extraordinary shareholder meeting already happened. It happened yesterday, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So it's not a big deal. What I mean alternatives, guys, I don't mean that. I mean like you could book a motel or a hotel. That's what I mean. You guys are funny. Is Daily Cowbell a YouTube channel? Yes. How do you guys not know about the Daily Cowbell? I'm gonna put it in the chat. If you guys aren't subscribed to Daily Cowbell, like what is going on, guys? You don't gotta watch every episode, but you gotta be subscribed. Goodness. Yes, here we go. I would give the show a chance. Give the bloopers a chance. It's a nice show. And the good thing about this show, man, is like we get to do it every day. We put it out there and like you get to see the feedback and see people and you get to talk about multiple topics. Like it's a cool thing to do a show format because you can use a lot of different things. So that's the important thing. Amit doesn't have time for girls. This is actually true. Let me just remind everybody, again, you're on this channel. You probably know a little bit about my life. We ended up raising $300,000 for my startup. By the way, the funding round for that, for our crowdfund closes January 13th, 2023. It's wefunder.com/Audia. I'm just going to put it in the chat if anyone wants to see it. I'll remind you guys later in January. But January 13th, the funding round is over. All the investor updates with all of our numbers and our growth. We're up. We've grown the platform 350% since August, month over month, or in the past 4 months. So like, whatever that is compounded over the past 4 months, 50% month over month, whatever that is. So you can check out our updates. Everything's there. Everything's transparent. January 13th, if you ever wanted to invest in the startup, it's done. January 13th. I can legally no longer accept money after January 13th. So the reason I'm bringing this up is to say the reason I don't have time for girls is because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity where you raise the money in a shitty, bro. I'm so happy we finished raising money by July because if I've tried to finish this round in September, October, like it was not going to be like the market was bad from January until July when I was really like in the thick of it raising money. And again, being in the thick of it means like hundreds of meetings every single week to try to get to the point where you could have a round set up. But if we tried to do this in October, November, it would not have happened. Like people wouldn't, like when you're down on Tesla, you don't have money to get, like when you're down in the stock market, you don't have disposable income to make private investments. So BRB on my way to upload hours of shit. So, at the end of the day, that once in a lifetime opportunity means that you sacrifice things that aren't as important in the moment. And I would classify girls as just not that important in the moment. I mean, girls will be around forever, but having the ability to raise money in a crappy economy and build a company that could potentially be very big, could potentially fail, but potentially be very big. Once in a lifetime, literally once in a lifetime. So are you taking questions? Yes, taking questions. So that's the other reason why I don't care about not moving out. It's like, bro, it's like, we're trying to do some stuff. Dude, you're going to get so many girls once we moon with Palantir. That's the other thing, guys. This is the honest truth. Like if Palantir moons, the channel is going to go like astronomical. Now, I'm not betting on that for the channel because I make videos on a lot of different types of topics. I try to diversify as much as possible. I don't want to just be stuck on Palantir, even though I know it's a big part of the channel, but I think I've tried to diversify a lot over. I made 1,000 freaking videos this year. And so, but if Palantir does moon, the channel is going like to a different direction, right? Because I saw it in the past couple of days. I saw the search volume for traffic for my YouTube channel increase 46% because I'm guessing here, but it's a pretty calculated guess that because Palantir was down the past couple of days badly, people were searching for Palantir on YouTube even more, and they were finding my channel. Like search traffic is just insane. Imagine when Palantir goes to like 20, 30 bucks. The search traffic is going to be ridiculous. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We'll see if it happens. But we'll see. Jimmy, shout out to Jimmy in the chat. Audia or Palantir. Jimmy, thank you for being here. Jimmy is one of our investors in Audia. I appreciate you, Jimmy. Thank you for being here. Audia. I'm a little bit more bullish on it. But the reason I'm bullish on Audia is because I'm bullish on myself at the end of the day. I believe in myself. And like, guys, my conviction over the past couple of days on Audia, or the past couple of weeks in December, it's just, I don't want to get into my whole bull case. Maybe we'll do another stream of that. But the world is moving towards democratized user-generated content, and there's not that many platforms to get discovered. There's YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. And Twitter, it's super hard, like really hard, because you're tweeting into the void. TikTok, you've got to make 1 trillion short form videos to actually get your name out there. YouTube is like really, really hard. YouTube is 500 hours of video uploaded per minute. It's not an easy thing. I've uploaded 1,000 videos and it's still difficult to get people's attention. And then Instagram is almost non-existent really for content discovery. And then Facebook, it's like, no, it's not happening. So like, where do you get discovered? Reddit? No, it's not happening on Reddit, right? So it's like, there have to be new platforms that give democratization to access discovery for content. And I don't think Spotify is doing that for audio. So I think I actually subscribed to a newsletter the other day. It's the first newsletter I subscribed to from a guy in the tech industry that has like 200,000 subscribers. Like this guy's like business CEOs read this guy. It's strategy.com. I'll put it in the description if anyone wants to see it. And he is also very skeptical of Spotify's exclusive model, because at the end of the day, it's like you can't just keep buying for more content, bro. That's not how it works. That's just, you can't keep doing that. And if you keep doing that, or you can keep doing that, but if you keep doing that, you're not going to be able to get creators discovered. It's just that simple. And if you're not getting creators discovered, it's going to be harder for people to find a voice. Cash King says you want a girl before you're rich, Amit. That's true, but I'm not even at the point where I think I can think of getting a girl. Like, I think it's stages, right? Let's say you're building a company. I think you want to have a foundation set for like the first 3 or 4 years and then get a girl like in the next 5-6 years of building the company, not at the beginning, which is where I'm at. Because if you're in the beginning, you're distracted. Like, it's just that simple. You're distracted. I don't care what anyone says. You are distracted. And if you're distracted, you're not going to build it, bro. Like, maybe there's some people that can do it if they're distracted. I just don't think if you have a significant other or someone that you have to emotionally attach yourself to, someone you have to keep texting all day, someone you have to fucking respond to all their stupid idiosyncrasies. That's how you say it. And I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just trying to say that when you are dealing with another person trying to build something, again, that's monumental. I'm not trying to build a pizza store here. And even if you were trying to build a pizza store, it's hard, but I'm trying to build like a tech company. Trying to keep up with that person's emotions and thoughts and ideas and making sure they're happy. It's like, no, bro, it's not worth it. It's like you have a once in a lifetime opportunity. Go all in on the thing that really matters and then deal with that, but not at the beginning. Would you ever interview a Palantir employee if they allowed it? Yes. I have talked to a bunch of Palantir employees. There is a Palantir employee that added me on LinkedIn yesterday, bro. A forward deployed engineer from Texas added me on LinkedIn yesterday. Like, I need to get a CARP interview, and I think I'll be able to get it as the macro gets better, because Palantir will want to do more like public outreach. And I think because I'm like the chief editor of dailypalantir.com, that's a little bit more like of a credential versus a Palantir YouTuber. And so I think I'm going to get the CARP interview one day. We just got to see. And I know a bunch of Palantir employees that I think could I literally DM with these people, and they like love, the content. They love the channel. They're so bullish on Palantir. And I think they can make some inroads in me with the investor relations team and the media communications team. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get it done. A mid-hate boner again. It's not a hate boner, Glitch Life. I'm just speaking the facts. Respect to your dad putting up with your... Yep. I can build businesses while eating kitty. Well, and a relationship is different from casual stuff. So that's also important to understand. I'll call CARP for you. He'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate it. Talk to Bezos. He was so distracted. Bezos got married, bro. You got to remember. But also, you guys, the Bezos example is horrible. You know why the Bezos example is horrible? He was 35 when he started Amazon. He was an established adult who had worked on Wall Street. He had savings. Like, Bezos is not the best example. I just turned 25, and my net worth is, my net worth would be like 100K if I wasn't down in the stock market, but my net worth's like around 50K. And so, I'm not established. And so like, I'm not as mature as well. I'll openly admit, at 35-year-old is probably more mature when it handles relationships than a 25-year-old. So Bezos, when he started Amazon, he had a lot of experience already. It was still really hard, but he was an adult. So I wouldn't say I'm officially like at that mature stage yet. What are your interests besides stocks and Aldea? Okay, I'll name three of them. I love Albert Camus' Philosophy of Absurdism, if you haven't checked that out. So philosophy in general, I'm a big junkie for. I watch like philosophy videos on YouTube and stuff. Albert Camus, one of my favorite philosophers of all time, ALBERT Camus. The Myth of Sisyphus, one of my favorite essays. I would highly recommend reading it. So very, very influential in my life. Other things I'm interested in are, I guess, like documentaries. First, I'm watching this thing on Hulu called The Dropout, which is, I guess it has to do with startups at the end of the day. But yeah, startups. You said stocks or Aldea. I guess startups in general and the process of startups is a big thing for me. So like how startups become how they are. And the other thing I would say is content discovery. And like the way content gets discovered is something I'm super interested in. So I'm always constantly analyzing, like, how did Twitter grow? People don't know this. 90% of Twitter accounts were inactive for the first couple of years because they couldn't get people to tweet. And then they figured out growth hacks, right? Same thing with Pinterest and Yelp and Facebook. So like, I love like reading case studies on how platforms got started and, how they maintain their moat in an established world of very big players. So I guess researching about that is really exciting to me as well. Amit, I bought an investing book to read over the holiday break. What is your recommendation if I want to read another one? Well, 0 to 1 is one of my favorite books. That's not really investing. It's more business. The Intelligent Investor, obviously that's a classic. Another investing book. I know a bunch of other books that are a little bit more geared towards like business and self-development, not necessarily hardcore investing. So I can give you some recommendations on those, but yeah, outside of that, nothing crazy on investing. Our book library is downstairs in our living room. So I could go check those out. I have 2 books in the back, but those are not really for investing necessarily. So I can go check those out and let you know as well. Okay, real mention, not trade options. Real mention, not trade options. That's hilarious. Blondes or brunettes? Okay, what do you guys think I'm into? Let's put that up to the chat. That will be the last question and then I'm done. What do you think Amit is into? Blondes or brunettes? Put it in the chat. I'm going to be curious to see what you guys say. Be very curious to see what you guys have to say. Very curious. Blondes or brunettes? Blondes or brunettes? I think Amazon is still too high. A DCF is inaccurate for them. 45 is. Amazon has lost all of its market cap, its gains since COVID as well. Okay, so we have a little bit of bronze. We have a little bit of brunettes. The answer is obviously brunettes. It's brunettes. Come on now, it's brunettes. It's not blondes. Come on, man, blondes. Amit is only interested in girls who invest in Palantir and know they are changing the world. Blonde and brunette doesn't matter. My camera just died. Give me 1 second. That's a good point, a Glitch Life, but most girls don't know about Palantir. I just want a girl. She doesn't need to be super ambitious. She just needs to have a deeper meaning. Look, here's my thing for a criteria for a relationship. Do you have a purpose to what you're doing? If you're some investment banker and you have zero purpose, like you can't even articulate why you're doing it, not interested. But if you have a purpose to what you're doing, like if you're a teacher or something, I don't care if you're making 40 grand a year. Do you have a purpose? And if you have a purpose, then I'm excited, because then there's meaning to it. If you're just doing a job to do a job that you hate and all this stuff, then it's like, I'm not like, because I'm trying to have a life filled with purpose and ambition, which is a really hard thing to do, right? So I don't want the energies to be off if you're not trying to do that. But I do like brunettes over blondes, so that's what I would want. Amit likes girls that resemble his camera. They run hot and Stevie, that's the best one. That's the best one. I love it. I have to unsub now. Wow. Is Palantir having an emergency shareholder meeting today? Nope. It was yesterday and nothing happened. They just affirmed some incorporation thing. So that's all they had. Okay. That's it for me. Thank you guys, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your holidays. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining the mortgage stream. It means the absolute world to me. Started YouTube a year ago. Did not expect that 300 people will be joining every morning to watch me talk about stocks. It means a lot to me. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you guys. Have a great, great holiday weekend. For those that celebrate it, for those that don't celebrate it, I'll be here, so I'll be on Twitter if you want to engage with me over the weekend. I'll probably be posting some videos over the weekend, but Twitter at Amit is investing. And yeah, thank you all for being part of this community. Love you guys. I will see you Monday for the market open. Bye, everybody.